Let's get weird into it. Number 9. The Loneliest Tree. Imagine you are the introverted champion of the botanical world. You are an acacia tree in the Tenere region of the Sahara Desert. You aren't just introverted. You are practicing social distancing on a geological scale. For over 250 miles in every single direction, there is absolutely nothing but sand, heat, and the crushing silence of existence. You are the only living thing on the map, a navigational beacon for caravans, and a sacred testament to life's stubborn refusal to die. You have survived centuries of droughts, sandstorms that could strip paint off a tank, and the relentless brutality of the sun. You are the toughest organism on the planet. But you know what you can't survive? A drunk guy with a truck. In 1973, a Libyan truck driver was navigating this vast, empty ocean of sand. Now, pause for a second and appreciate the geometry here. He had the entire Sahara Desert to drive through. He had a literal continent of empty space. The odds of hitting a single solitary tree in a 150,000 square mile radius are statistically lower than you getting struck by lightning while winning the lottery and being bitten by a shark in your bathtub. And yet, this absolute savant of destruction managed to drive his truck directly into the only vertical object for 3 days' travel. He snapped the tree in half. The incident wasn't just a car accident, it was a cosmic joke. The broken trunk was eventually hauled off to a museum in Niamey, where it sits like a martyr to human incompetence. And the original spot was replaced by a metal sculpture that looks like a radio antenna, designed by a depressed robot. It's a permanent reminder that no matter how far you go to get away from people, one of them will eventually find you and ruin your day with a motor vehicle. Number 8. The Mayan road fill. You are walking through the jungles of Belize, specifically the Nomul complex. This isn't just a pile of rocks. It is a ceremonial center that dates back to the pre-classic era. We are talking about 2,300 years of history. A structure that saw the rise and fall of kings, the tracking of celestial bodies, and the complex rituals of a civilization that understood mathematics better than most modern high schoolers. It survived the collapse of the Maya, the Spanish conquest, and centuries of tropical storms. It stood tall, a rugged pyramid of limestone shouting its legacy to the sky. Then came the road crew. In 2013, a construction company needed crushed rock to fill in a road. Now, usually you get crushed rock from a quarry. But quarries are far away and gas is expensive, and capitalism hates inefficiency. The crew looked at this priceless 100-foot-tall ancient temple and didn't see history. They saw a convenient pile of free gravel. With the casual energy of someone popping a pimple, they brought in backhoes and bulldozers and just started eating the pyramid. They clawed away the sides, destabilizing the core, and ground millennia of human heritage into dust to patch a few potholes in a nearby sugarcane road. By the time authorities realized what was happening and stopped them, the central pyramid looked like an apple that had been half-eaten by a giant, indifferent toddler. The punchline? The politicians and historians were screaming in horror, calling it an act of cultural genocide, while the construction crew basically shrugged. To them, it was just a mound of dirt that was in the way of their lunch break. The pyramid is now a ruined husk, proving that the greatest threat to history isn't time or erosion, but a guy named Dave trying to finish his shift early. Number 7. The Boy Scout Topple. You are standing in Goblin Valley State Park in Utah. It's a geological wonderland filled with hoodoos, mushroom-shaped rock formations that have been sculpted by wind and water over roughly 170 million years. These rocks were here when dinosaurs were figuring out how to be birds. They are delicate, balancing acts of nature that create a landscape looking like Mars, if Mars was made of hardened mud and magic. Enter the troop leaders. In 2013, a group of grown men, ostensibly there to teach young Boy Scouts about responsibility, nature, and the ethos of leave no trace, spotted a particularly precarious hoodoo. Now, a normal brain looks at a balancing rock and thinks, wow, physics is cool. But the lizard brain of a middle-aged man in cargo shorts thinks, I bet I can push that over. Filming themselves for posterity. Because if you're going to commit a federal crime, you should definitely provide the evidence in 1080p. One of the men wedged his back against the rock and heaved. He grunted, he strained, and with a sickening crunch, the 170-million-year-old formation toppled over, smashing into dust on the valley floor. The guys immediately started cheering and high-fiving like they just won the Super Bowl, rather than vandalizing the Jurassic period. Their defense: they claimed the rock was loose, and they knocked it over to save the lives of innocent children who might, theoretically, stand under it at some point in the distant future. It was a preemptive strike against gravity. The park rangers were not impressed by this Batman-style logic. The men were slapped with felony charges and stripped of their scouting leadership roles, proving that while you can topple a rock in 3 seconds, rebuilding your reputation takes a lot longer than the Triassic period. Number 6. The Great Wall Shortcut. You are a worker in central China's Shaanxi province. You operate an excavator. Your job is to move dirt from point A to point B. But there is a problem. Between point A and point B stands a massive, crumbling earthen barrier. It's the Great Wall of China. Specifically, it's the 32nd Great Wall, a section built during the Ming Dynasty. It is a UNESCO World Heritage Site, a symbol of China's endurance, and one of the few man-made structures you can recognize from space, if you squint and don't know how optics work. It was built to keep out Mongol hordes, surviving centuries of warfare and weathering. But for 2 construction workers in 2023, it was just a really annoying detour. They didn't want to drive their excavator all the way around the wall to get to their worksite. That would take minutes. Whole minutes. So, they looked at the ancient fortification, looked at their heavy machinery, and decided to engage in some civil engineering. They found a small gap in the wall and used the excavator to widen it. And by widen, I mean they drove a massive, glorious hole straight through the Ming Dynasty. They turned a world wonder into a drive-through. Police followed the tracks of the machinery straight to the neighboring county, where they found the 2 workers, presumably congratulating themselves on their efficiency. They had successfully saved maybe 15 minutes of commute time at the low cost of causing irreversible structural damage to a symbol of human civilization. It really puts your annoyance at rush hour traffic into perspective. Number 5. The Lisbon Selfie Crash. You're a statue of Dom Sebastião, a Portuguese king who ruled in the 16th century. You stand outside the Rocio train station in Lisbon. You are a 126-year-old work of art, holding a sword, looking regal, and generally minding your own business about 10 feet off the ground. You have survived revolutions, political upheavals, and pigeons. You are made of stone, but you are not invincible. The year is 2016. A young tourist has a phone, a selfie stick, and a severe deficiency of common sense. He looks up at you and decides that a photo from the ground isn't good enough. The lighting is all wrong. He needs to get on your level. He needs to be intimate with the monarchy. So, he climbs. He scales the pedestal. He grabs onto you, the statue of a long-dead king, to hoist himself up for the perfect angle. But here's the thing about 126-year-old statues. They are balanced for looking cool, not for supporting the weight of a guy trying to impress his 42 followers on Instagram. Gravity, sensing an opportunity for comedy, took over. The statue tipped. It crashed to the pavement and shattered into a dozen unfixable chunks. The tourist? He didn't even get the photo. He tried to run away, which is the universal reaction to breaking something expensive at a party. But the police caught him. The statue was destroyed beyond repair, forcing the city to display a replica. It's a harsh lesson that while your vanity is infinite, the tensile strength of antique limestone is very much finite. Number 4. The Nazca Stomp. Peru's Nazca lines are geoglyphs etched into the desert floor roughly 2,000 years ago. They are massive drawings of hummingbirds, monkeys, and spiders, created by the Nazca people by removing the reddish topsoil to reveal the lighter earth beneath. They are so fragile that walking on them is strictly forbidden. The ground there is like a memory foam mattress that never bounces back. Once you step on it, that footprint is there for centuries. Enter Greenpeace. In 2014, the environmental activist group decided that the best way to promote clean energy was to trample all over an ancient cultural heritage site. Under the cover of darkness, a group of activists in bright yellow hoodies trekked out to the famous hummingbird geoglyph. They weren't wearing special shoes. They weren't hovering. They were just walking, boots on the ground, leaving a trail of disturbed earth right next to the beak of the hummingbird. They laid out big yellow letters that read, "Time for change. The future is renewable." They took aerial photos, feeling very proud of their guerrilla marketing campaign. The next morning, the Peruvian government saw the photos and absolutely lost their minds. The activists had left a permanent desecration trail right through the figure. The irony is thick enough to choke on. In an attempt to save the planet, they damaged one of the planet's most unique historical features. The Peruvian authorities called it a slap in the face to everything Peruvians consider sacred. It was a PR disaster of nuclear proportions, proving that you can have the moral high ground and still be standing on something you really shouldn't be standing on. Number 3. The Duckbill Safety Hazard. Cape Kiwanda in Oregon is a stunning windswept coastline featuring a rock formation known as the Duckbill. It was a sandstone pedestal roughly 7 feet across, shaped exactly like, you guessed it, a duck's bill. It was a favorite spot for photographers, a fenced-off natural wonder that had withstood the pounding of the Pacific Ocean for eons. In 2016, a group of teenagers decided they knew better than nature. A video surfaced showing the group pushing on the rock. They weren't doing it for a selfie. They weren't doing it by accident. They were pushing with intent. When confronted by a bystander who was filming the vandalism, the group leader shouted back that they were doing a public service because a friend of theirs had broken a leg on the rock earlier. They successfully toppled the formation, smashing the iconic landmark into rubble. Their logic was that the rock was a safety hazard. This is like burning down a forest because you got a splinter. They destroyed a geological treasure to baby-proof the wilderness. The internet, predictably, hunted them down. But since the justice system is slow and confusing, the punishment was minimal compared to the loss. Now the Duckbill is just a pile of sand, and the coastline is a little less magical, all thanks to the safety patrol from hell. Number 2. The Bridge of Heavy Love. Paris is the city of love. And for years, the Pont des Arts Bridge was the epicenter of a very specific, very heavy ritual. Couples would buy a padlock, write their names on it, lock it to the bridge's wire mesh railing, and throw the key into the River Seine. It symbolizes that their love is unbreakable and eternal. It's a sweet gesture. It's romantic. It's poetic. It is also an engineering nightmare. See, one padlock weighs a few ounces. But tourists are not a scarce resource. By 2014, there were over 700,000 padlocks attached to the bridge. That is roughly 45 tons of brass and steel. That is the weight of 20 elephants standing on a pedestrian footbridge that was designed in the 1800s to hold people, not a herd of metallic pachyderms. The bridge literally began to crumble. Railings collapsed onto the walkway. The structural integrity of the bridge was screaming for mercy. The city of Paris finally had to step in, not because they hate love, but because they hate mass casualties. They cut off all the locks. 45 tons of eternal love were carted off to the scrapyard. And the wire mesh was replaced with glass panels that you can't clip anything to. It turns out that love might be infinite, but the load-bearing capacity of 19th century architecture is strictly regulated by physics. Number 1. The OG idiot. We have to go back. Way back. We are going to the year 356 BC. The location is Ephesus, in modern-day Turkey. Standing there is the Temple of Artemis. This wasn't just a church. It was one of the 7 wonders of the ancient world. It was a massive forest of marble columns, filled with priceless art, gold, and the reverence of the entire Greek world. It was considered the most beautiful structure on Earth. And then there was Herostratus. Herostratus was a nobody. He had no skills, no royal blood, and no talent. But he had a burning desire, literally, to be famous. He realized that building something great takes talent and time, but destroying something great takes about 20 minutes and a flint striker. So, he set fire to the wooden roof beams of the temple. The fire spread, and the wonder of the world burned to the ground. When the authorities caught him and tortured him to find out why he did it, because surely he must be a spy or a religious zealot, he simply said he did it so his name would be immortalized. He wanted to go down in history. The Ephesians were so disgusted by this clout-chasing stupidity that they not only executed him but passed a law called Damnatio Memoriae, a ban on ever speaking his name. They wanted him to be forgotten forever. But historians are gossips, and here we are, 2,300 years later, talking about him. Herostratus is the patron saint of every idiot on this list. He proved that any fool can destroy what it took geniuses centuries to build. He is the original influencer doing it for the engagement, proving that while greatness is hard, infamy is just a matchstick away. And that's our time for today. More strange things are always coming, so I'll see you in the next one.